UFC Fight Night Usman vs. Buckley took place on June 14th at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. The event brought in $3.2 million at the gate, as well as sponsorships, merchandise sales, and potential site fees that can range from the millions to tens of millions. Not to mention the UFC's broadcasting deal with ESPN, which pulls north of $300 million a year. But how big of a slice did the fighters take home? Georgia is one of the few states that still discloses fighter pay information, so we'll be taking a look at the official payouts from the Georgia Athletic and Entertainment Commission. And if you stick around until the end, I'll share how much the channel made from the last video. With that said, let's jump into the first fight.
Every fighter that's under contract, if you want to tell the media what you're paid, that's up to you.
Kicking off the main card, it was a battle of potential versus experience as undefeated light heavyweight Oumar took on Alonzo Menifield. Despite being a huge underdog, Menifield held his own in a striking heavy start to the fight. In the second, pinned Menifield against the fence for several minutes attempting a takedown. He did eventually get it with about a minute left, but overall it resulted in a very uneventful round. The final frame was another striking affair, but neither man was able to connect with any meaningful blows, and it would go to the judges' scorecard. Alonzo Menifield would squeak out the unanimous decision victory. Just like with UFC 311, I made a community post Saturday evening with all of my estimated payouts for the card. I'll be comparing my projections to the official numbers released by the commission to see just how close I was able to get. For example, I predicted that Oumar was likely still on his rookie contract, earning him $16,000 to show. However, he must have signed a new deal since his last fight, as according to the commission, he actually took home $26,000. Along with the entry-level $4,000 in Venom sponsorship, also known as Fight Week Incentive, for $30,000 on the night. Meanwhile, I was spot on with Menifield at $125,000, although it doesn't take a mathematician to project that, based off the disclosed purse of $120,000 from his last fight at UFC Seattle. He'd also earned $125,000 for the win, as well as $16,000 in sponsorship, for a total of $266,000. In a bit of a slow start, middleweights Mansur Abdul-Malik and Cody Brundage picked up the pace midway through the first round, throwing heavy punches and kicks, including a dangerous teep kick up the middle that just grazed Brundage's chin. In the second, Abdul-Malik connected with a heavy right hand on his opponent's ear that caused some heavy bleeding, but the fight remained incredibly close. In the final round, Mansur scored a knockdown off a right hand, which incited a brawl that had both fighters swinging wildly. During the action, a clash of heads caused Brundage to shell up against the cage, ultimately leading to the end of the fight. It was scored up to that point, and Mansur Abdul-Malik came away with the technical decision. Brundage fought out his last contract, but re-signed with the UFC before this fight. I had him making a projected $66,000 in his 12th UFC fight, and I wasn't far off, with him earning $65,000 to show, along with $11,000 in sponsorship pay, for a total of $76,000. While Abdul-Malik earned a $12,000 purse in his last outing at UFC Seattle, so it made sense that if he's still on his first contract, he'd be making $14,000 to show for this fight, which is exactly what happened. He also took home $14,000 for the win, and $4,000 in sponsorship, totaling an estimated $32,000. In the third fight of the night, bantamweights Cody Garbrandt and Raoni Barcelos put on a show as both men staggered their opponent in the first round, with Barcelos opening up a cut near Garbrandt's eyebrow. Throughout the fight, Garbrandt's defense held up as he stuffed all of Barcelos' takedown attempts to keep the fight on the feet. However, the momentum started shifting Raoni's way as his pressure kept Cody on the back foot, allowing him to tag the former champ with a right hand at the end of the second. He looked the fresher fighter in the final round and used his full arsenal to carry him to the unanimous decision win. Despite the loss, I estimated the former champ Cody Garbrandt would take home around $190,000 to show. However, in reality, he earned much more at $275,000. And while I was pretty far off the mark, we don't actually know what he would have made had he won the fight. Oftentimes, with purses this large, we'll see them front-loaded in the show money. Henry Cejudo revealed that for UFC Seattle, he earned $350,000 to show and would have only made an additional $150,000 to win. If Cody was contracted at $275 and $100, that would actually be pretty close to $190 and $190, but that might just be me trying to cope. Regardless, he also made $16,000 in sponsorship, taking his total to $291,000. Meanwhile, Barcelos, in his last fight at UFC 311, earned a disclosed $48,000. I incorrectly assumed that he signed a new deal prior to this fight, which would have given him around $65,000. However, he actually made $51,000 to show, along with $51,000 for the win and $11,000 in Venom sponsorship, giving him a total of $113,000. The fourth fight saw Edmen Shahbazyan keep fellow middleweight Andre Petroski at arm's length with his jabs and kicks, preventing him from getting in takedown range. Shahbazyan stayed ahead on the striking numbers and landed the harder shots, but neither fighter ever seemed to be in too much danger of getting finished. That changed in the final round, as Shahbazyan landed a body kick that caused Petroski to crumple up against the fence. Edmen pounced, and while unable to get the finish, after 15 minutes took home a clear unanimous decision win. I projected Petroski at $58,000 based on his 11 fights in the promotion, but was way off with him pulling a $100,000 purse, along with $11,000 in Venom sponsorship, for a $111,000 paycheck. Meanwhile, I was very close on Shahbazyan's estimate of $90,000 with a disclosed purse of $93,000, along with $93K for the win, as well as $11,000 in sponsorship pay, taking him to $197,000 on the night. In the co-main event, former training partners Rose Namajunas and Miranda Maverick went toe-to-toe in the first round of their flyweight bout. Namajunas edged out the striking exchanges and continued that momentum into the second round, where she controlled the fight on the feet and on the ground. That is, until Maverick was able to reverse position and nearly lock in an arm triangle choke near the end of the round. In the final 5 minutes, Namajunas landed a left hand that sent Maverick tumbling to the canvas, where Rose was able to control the remaining time on the ground, ensuring a unanimous decision victory. Maverick earned $75,000 3 fights ago at UFC 298, but 3 wins later and on a new deal, I estimated closer to $100,000 for this fight. And according to the commission, she made $125,000, along with $11,000 in Venom sponsorship, totaling $136,000. Meanwhile, for the former strawweight champ Rose Namajunas, I firmly underestimated her purse at $150,000, when in reality, she made a whopping $250,000, which is hard to believe when arguably the greatest bantamweight of all time, Dominick Cruz, only earned $175K for his most recent fight. Regardless, she brought in another $250,000 for the win, along with $16,000 in sponsorship, coming out to $516,000 on the night. Only 7% of the people watching this video are subscribers, so if you're enjoying the content and want to keep up with all the latest videos, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And finally, in the main event of the evening, Kamaru Usman started the fight against fellow welterweight Joaquin Buckley exactly where he wanted, as he took Buckley down less than a minute in and dominated the round. The second, third, and fourth rounds played out very similarly, as Buckley was unable to defend Usman's takedown attempts. When the fight was on the feet, he couldn't find his range for fear of ending up back on the ground. Only in the final round was he able to defend a few takedowns and impose his striking attack, but it was the only bright moment in a miserable night for New Manza, as Kamaru Usman would go on to take the unanimous decision. I had Buckley's purse at $130,000, when in reality he took home $150,000, along with a 25% bump for the 5-round main event, as well as $16,000 in sponsorship and a $50,000 fight of the night bonus. He walked away with $253,500. And as for the former champ Kamaru Usman, he's listed at a ridiculous $300,000, and while purses for top-tier fighters are often understated, I figured the commission would at least put him at $500K. Back when he held the welterweight belt, he pulled a guaranteed $2.5 million per fight, according to John Nash on the Hey Not The Face podcast. While he most likely doesn't earn quite that much in 2025, I'd still estimate anywhere from $750,000 to $1.25 million guaranteed, along with $16,000 in sponsorship pay and his $50,000 bonus, taking his grand total to an estimated $1,066,000. And last but not least, last week's video got over 27,000 views as of this posting, translating to nearly $112. Corrections to the numbers I've shown will be listed in a pinned comment below. As always, thanks for watching. See you next week for UFC Fight Night, Hill vs. Roundtree Jr.